Hello, and welcome to another edition of All or Not According to Jack with your host, Jack Toledano. And it is time for another dream set list. And for this dream set list, I brought a guest this week, and he's been on All or Not before, Mr. Steve Buckley. How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Jack.
Oh, you're
Nice,
very
nice to be
welcome.
nice to be back.
Okay. Oh, always a pleasure. So Steve and I, funny story. Uh, when I said that I was going to do these dream set lists and basically bring them back, I was making a concerted effort to not really redo any of the ones that I had done with Pete or yes, with one possible exception. I decided I wanted to redo my Jethro Tull dream set list, and part of that was to bring Steve Buckley back. Steve and I had met. Uh, basically, the way I think it happened was Steve wrote in to the first Jethro Tull dream set list that I had done with Pete Pardo, and he told me about this great project that he was working on to put this movie together, with all videos and old Jethro Tull footage to basically to to be married to the bursting out era set list. So,
Hmm.
want to talk
Yep.
about that a little?
Yeah, the Tull Phenomenon, um, which it eventually became. Yeah, yeah, it's a funny thing with that. I'm going through a few things where there's nothing I can really do about it at this point, but um, it's on Vimeo. It's a private link, and that is really the best I can do because there are a few select pieces throughout that the copyright police have kind of snagged.
Gotcha.
So when I do individual videos, there's always an advertisement for that. Some people might have even possibly gotten sick of seeing those advertisements, but they're very short and brief. And I continue to promote the movie to this day based on the fact that it doesn't get that full YouTube exposure. There are a few select tracks that you can search for and find on YouTube, but in order to see the entire movie, and that's the best way to really see it from front to back, not
Yeah.
to see it in pieces. But so at this point right now, believe it or not, working on about 7,500 views on Vimeo, which is there are a lot more Tull fans out there than that. So it's definitely underviewed. I have several videos that are way more than that as far as YouTube viewage. So I just keep on plugging it, and occasionally I'll post it on Facebook, that kind of thing, and eventually we'll get to 10K and see where we go from there.
Okay.
But it should
Well,
it should not be missed. Is my
I wholeheartedly agree. So, people who know me know that I had a project of my own. My wife and I bought a second home upstate about two, three
Mhm.
years ago, and so at the time it wasn't livable. So I was staying at my in-laws, and they didn't have cable. And one night there was nothing to watch, but they had very good Wi-Fi. So I
Mhm.
watched Steve Buckley's Tull Phenomenon, and let me tell you, what was it, an hour and a half?
Yeah, it runs 100 minutes.
Okay, it was awesome. It was so great. And so I will be putting that link in the comments section below after we talk about this.
Okay.
But for tonight, we're going to talk about our Jethro Tull Dream set list, and basically
Mhm.
how that works is you can pick any tour from any year, and you can come up with your own set list, and whatever situation or scenario you want to come up with. So we're going to start with Steve's Jethro Tull set list. So go right ahead.
Well, I did choose going right along with the Tull phenomenon theme. I did choose bursting out, but um, with couple of changes that would have made it much more exciting. As some of you know, but some of you may not, for about a week or so, there was a possibility that Jeffrey Hammond was going to come back. John Glasscock was ill with his heart issues he was having. He was recuperating at the time. And they ended up bringing in, as Ian would say, Tony Williams straight from the clubs of Blackpool. But before that, for a few days or at least a week, Jeffrey's bass did come out of the case.
Interesting.
There was a couple of rehearsals. Ian was trying his best. Oh, the people would just love to see you again and all this. And Jeffrey just felt after a few days or possibly a week that his skills had deteriorated enough, or he just didn't have the confidence to go through with it. But what an amazing tour that would have been with even if Jeffrey wasn't back for good, if he was just back for a whole tour, that would have been amazing just to see him again. I had never, I'm younger, and I really, my first tour was 78 Bursting Out. I was supposed to go 77 Songs from the Wood. I was supposed to go to that, but I got grounded. That's another story.
Oh, the famous grounded from the concert.
Yep.
See, yep. I got grounded from Ted Nugent, Charlie Daniels.
Yes. And it's not like I can remember what I did. I had friends
it was always about poor grades. So
and that was just one of the best tours. I mean, I had friends of mine saying, just leave and take the consequences afterwards. And I was that close to doing it. And for whatever reason, I stayed home, and I missed one of the just amazing set lists. Actually, I sprinkled a little of that into my dream Bursting Out set list. So
here is redemption. That's why we're doing this tonight.
So to start, Jeffrey is back. Jeffrey's back for 60 dates, whatever you want to say. He's back for the North American tour. So looking at the Bursting Out set list, I decided to be a little more creative and start with something that they did not do. It's an old standby from the olden days, and Bursting Out's really supposed to be a greatest hits live. That's really what it was supposed to do.
Right.
It was supposed to be a best of Tull. So in that regard, Nothing Is Easy is the opener for me.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. I've actually done a remix of that, which I haven't released yet. I haven't even done a video for it, but it sits in my, my files, and I'm like, well, someday, I like a bunch of other stuff I look at. Someday I'll get to you. Number one is Nothing Is Easy,
and that is
always a solid opening tune.
Oh, love it.
Regardless. My second one, I kicked right in there with Aqualung.
Wow.
Okay. Barry on the snare drum and the bass drum, doom, 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 down, 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 down. And that's without saying good evening or anything else. And Nothing Is Easy, and then all of a sudden you're in, and that's going to pretty much shock the world, because Tull had gotten very comfortable with that ending Aqualung Locomotive Breath, and I just wanted to break that up.
Right.
I wanted to get away from the predictable. So they do the full version of Aqualung, and then you get the good evening from Ian, and probably a couple of well rehearsed jokes, as he always does, and then why not Thick as a Brick, the 12-minute. The classic 12-minute version that just became a staple of the band. Number four, I have Critique Oblique.
Okay.
Otherwise known as Passion Play Edit 5.
Okay.
Probably one of the strongest pieces.
And that's the one that goes do 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 do.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yep. I thought so.
So that was something, and especially with Jeffrey in the fold, he shouldn't have that much of a problem remembering that one. So again, Passion Play is something that I think got dropped from the Tull set list
Yeah.
too soon. Obviously, we know the critics, you know, they really berated the band with it, and it was gone by 75. Any excerpts from Passion Play, it was gone.
That's a shame.
So
I love it.
So as a fantasy set list, I had to put it back in. All right, we'll do one new one. Heavy Horses, title track.
Okay.
I prefer actually the 6-minute quicker version than the 8 or 9-minute version.
Okay.
But you know, I'm not going to say, you know, I'm not going to define it as either one. Just Heavy Horses, and then the very next one, we're going to do a Martin solo of Pibroch and Black Satin Dancer.
Oh, interesting.
Which is something he did and get started around 1982. But we're going to bring that in early.
Okay.
Give Ian a break, and let Martin just shine with those two pieces.
So Black Satin Dancer, it's not the whole song, it's just
no. In the 80s, Martin did a version of Pibroch and Black Satin Dancer. So I'm just going to insert that here, only with the real band, with Barrymore and Jeffrey and David Palmer and John Evan. It would have sounded amazing. And then after Ian has had his pee break and his smoke, he steps back and he does Wondering Aloud and does Skating Away.
Very nice.
And then continues on that acoustic flow, so to speak, with My God. But we know My God does not end that way. That's one of the best songs that Tull has ever done. My God, flute solo, including Beret. And then to follow along somewhat with the Bursting Out theme, Songs from the Wood, the middle first version. So they do the middle first,
right,
and then they go into the main part of the song.
That's how they did it when I saw them on the Home Watch tour. Yep.
So then we'll go to Cry You a Song, into Living in the Past with vocals. They, for the most part of the 70s, when they did do Living in the Past, it was an instrumental. But having heard some very reliable tapes from the European Too Old to Rock and Roll tour in 76, spring of 76, there was a few times that they tried it out with vocals. And it sounded great. But it might have been just decided in the set list that Ian wanted a break. So they did an instrumental. But for my version, To Cry You a Song, into Living the Past with vocals. Then we'll give Ian a rest again. And one of my favorite non-Tull tracks that they played for a couple of years, Beethoven's Ninth.
Okay. What was that called? There was another name for it. It ended up making it to the extras when Stormwatch was re-released.
No,
Madrigal.
What's that?
Madrigal, or is that the same thing?
Oh no, it's not. King Henry's Madrigal.
Right. Madrigal. Yes.
No, it's not. No, this is an actual piece.
Okay.
It's a part. It's an excerpt of Beethoven's Ninth.
Interesting.
And it's actually, I have a video coming out later this year of that.
Oh, okay.
With multiple sources of footage. But yeah, there's a bootleg. It's from early 77. And believe it or not, this got me to realize of how that Tull was just another dimension live. It was called A Sack Full of Trouser Snakes.
Interesting.
And it was from like April, might have been like Anaheim, California, April 1977. And just, you know, the comedy skits and just the all around jovial nature and the set list was unbelievable. I really thought when I first day Bursting Out went on sale, I was disappointed there were certain songs that were not on it. This was probably one of them. The other couple were probably Backdoor Angels and Wind Up.
Right.
Because that Songs from the Wood set list was almost perfect. Yeah, the concert I got grounded. Yeah, that one. That one that I never made it to. But my friends told me about for like 3 years.
Did you
So
actually buy the Songs from the Wood box set? Because it's got a DVD full concert in it.
oh yeah, I've seen it. Actually, I have some on my my YouTube page where I reconditioned it.
Okay, because I actually bought it before it ballooned to like $300-400 on the after.
No, I at least bought it in decent timing before it got crazy.
So you have it. Good.
So I remastered it, and I made it 16:9 widescreen.
Oh,
so it's amazing that they will release this stuff and it's still in that just letterbox, still in just 4:3. And I'm like, you know, you can do it like the way the Tull Phenomenon is in widescreen. You know, the same. So I have the first set on my YouTube page, but the second one, believe it or not, the copyright police got after it after a couple thousand views.
Oh wow.
So I then have a link to the first video, and I actually have a short advertisement that basically says, well, if you want to watch the second half, it's on Vimeo. Kind of the same ID that it's still privatized on Vimeo, but you can get in with the link. And so I just lost my set list. All right, got it back. After Beethoven's Ninth, we start off with the very beginning of the Too Old to Rock and Roll album.
Okay.
The acoustic part that just basically starts out with you know, the title track.
Right.
And then right into Quiz Kid.
Makes a right turn into Quiz Kid. Yep.
So that's the next piece. Then after that, Minstrel in the Gallery, middle part, like Martin's middle part, the heavy part, to the end of the song.
Okay.
Then Hunting Girl. Then, for something completely different, the beginning of Thick as a Brick side 2.
Oh.
See there? A Man is Born. Goes into the drum solo.
Right.
It basically becomes Barrymore's classic drum solo.
Right.
That he's basically, they always would use different instrumentals, but if you listen to Barry's solo for about 3 or 4 years, it's very close to being the same.
Right.
So that classic solo, then it goes into something that would be defined as a final Brick reprise, which they've done, and then into the very ending of New Day Yesterday.
Interesting.
So then, after all that, Cross-Eyed Mary, Strobe Light, et cetera, good night. Cheery up. Then the encore starts. Martin comes out and does his little thing, and then Wind Up into No Rehearsal.
Okay.
So they do the mellow part of Wind Up into the heavy part, and right where it's supposed to go back to the piano again, they start. You got Jeffrey there, so you can say, "Oh, what the hell is it?" They say, "There's one in the circle, 500 million in the stall. Everyone will be there, but the safety curtain falls, and then So it goes, there's a reciting of Jeffrey, and then it goes to Ian. And then they go into a very small part of No Rehearsal,
Okay.
which they had played live, even though it's from those dreaded Chateau tapes.
Right.
They featured a lot of that stuff during the Passion Play tour, because I guess there was a lot of, they spent a lot of time and they put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it. So even though they might have known at that point that it wasn't at least going to end up on vinyl, in the next 6 months or so, maybe they figured they'd use it at some point. And the only stuff they used, of course, was Skating Away, and I think Solitaire, that one short little acoustic piece from War Child. But just a marvelous creation of stuff that was really just kept in the vaults too long. So yeah, No Rehearsal, Backdoor Angels, back to the mellow part of Wind Up, and then basically another fake goodnight. Not with a good night, but just to leave the stage. It's dark again. Out come the lighters, not the cell phones, the lighters.
Mm-hmm.
So
yep, it's a good 30 years before cell phones.
Yeah. So on walks at least a fake drunk
John
walks John Evan.
Oh, okay.
In his white ice cream suit.
Yep.
He always kind of had that Harpo Marx thing going.
Yep.
Silly, zany, etc. So out comes John Evan, and he starts to doodle at the piano. He goes into some parts that we haven't heard for 5 years or more. He starts to do a little of By Kind Permission Of.
Okay.
From the Living in the Past live song.
Yep.
And people are really into it because they never thought they would hear any of that again. But it's not long. It's not overdone. It's about a minute worth of doodling, and then all of a sudden he goes to the keys of Locomotive Breath.
Okay.
And the place goes nuts.
Right.
And then we go into an instrumental. After Locomotive Breath, we go into instrumental of the third Hurrah from War Child.
Okay.
Only an instrumental.
Mm-hmm.
And that segs with Dam Buster's March, which is the whole time when Ian does the balloons.
Right.
And we all know that when we see the balloons, it's the end of the concert.
Right.
And then he comes out one more time with his acoustic guitar and strums a few bars of Minstrel in the Gallery. And that's it.
Okay. Wow. Wow, that's very cool. And I must say, very eclectic.
Yeah.
So Steve, do you know?
It's the fantasy.
Did you happen to get a time of all these songs, start to finish? Time of the concert? Because that sounds like a 3-hour show to me.
Yeah, I started to do it like real. I think it's somewhere within the 2-hour. Because some of the songs aren't full versions. They're shortened. They're segged with something else. I did actually do it. I started going 5, and I think I came up with 2+, but not 3.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, hey, that's a great set. I would definitely go check it out. Yeah. Good job.
I wish. Can't even get in a time machine to go see that, but
yeah,
I would gladly get in a time machine to 71, 72, 74.
Right. Okay. Well,
I don't think they'll have them by the time by the time we're
in our lifetime.
We've left this world.
Yep. Okay, so that's great. So we're going to get to mine. So what we're going to do is, and just to recap, so when I did it with Pete on Sea of Tranquility, I did it based on the Stormwatch tour,
Okay.
And not only did I feature some of the songs off of Stormwatch, but I featured pretty much, I tried to feature songs from pretty much all the albums.
Right.
And I tried to have an acoustic set list of about 6 or 7 songs.
Hmm.
And I had a set list of rarities. Uh,
Okay.
but this time what I did was I just made it pretty much a normal concert with a little more hard rock, a little less acoustic, and no specific uh, acoustic or rarities, although there will be some rarities in there. So I'm going to share my screen. So let's share. And this is what I called it. I called it um, "'Twas a New Day Yesterday" or "An Old Day Now," or just a Jethro Tull set list, dream set list.
Sounds good.
So, and some grab some pictures, and there's a picture I grabbed for you. Uh, Almost looks like somebody doctored up this picture. I didn't even realize it, but
Yeah, that's been.
yeah,
I don't know if that's actually a painting or.
yeah.
I have seen that online though. That particular one.
Right. Okay, so set one. So we start off, and granted, this is during the Minstrel in the Gallery tour. So,
Drum roll.
so right into Minstrel in the Gallery. He
Hmm?
comes out. He says, "My lord and lady," and I didn't even think of this at the time. But what I could have done, I could have had the two Muppet guys who sit up in the balcony, kind of poo-pooing everything. That would have been funny. But so goes into the acoustic minstrel in the gallery, plays the Martin's heavy parts, which I love,
Hmm.
plays the song in its entirety. Then he goes right into Cold Wind to Valhalla.
Mm.
Okay, so then we veer away from minstrel for a little while. So song three, "With You There to Help Me" from Benefit, a
Oh,
song that
wonderful.
I love. Yeah. So then we play song number four, "My Sunday Feeling," a
Mm.
song that I saw them play back in 2008, which to me, that's the best song on the very first album this was.
Yeah, I would go along with that.
And,
Yeah.
and it's got a very bluesy feel, which I love.
Hmm.
Okay, so from there, we go to another favorite of mine off of Living in the Past, "Sweet Dream," a song you
Mm.
know pretty well, because didn't they open with that during that Bursting Out tour? Some
It
show.
was they switched back and forth. I think they eventually just decided to just use No Lullaby instead. But if you look on what the hell is that website called?
Oh, I know Setlists dot, yeah, dot
The,
FM, something like that.
um, I just it can't come to me right now. But any Tull fan would know the one I'm talking about. It usually has a black background and green writing.
Right.
And historically, I mean, you can see very minute set changes through any tour or any leg of any tour.
Right.
Uh, so when they first landed, North American tour, not to be confused with the Heavy Horses tour, which was only European, um, they they tried to do Sweet Dream as the opener, and then
Uh-huh.
you can see it wasn't that long. Just a few gigs into it, they went back to No Lullaby, and then Sweet Dream is second.
Right.
Ian's choice. He's the boss.
But I love it in the set, so I put it in. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so number six. So now we go to one of my favorite Tull albums, "Stand Up for a New Day Yesterday." Next,
Oh
we
yeah.
we stay with "Stand Up" for a rarity that I absolutely love, "Back to the Family," a
Oh yeah.
played song they hadn't played live since like the early 70s. I saw a clip of them with Glenn Cornick still in the band, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it was in Amsterdam they performed this. Great. So, okay, number 8, Skating Away.
Yeah.
Instead of putting the album, I think that's what, Barrymore Barlow skating there, I think, on the back of War Child.
Yep.
I wish I had the whole picture, but you get the idea.
Hmm.
Okay, so number 9, another rarity, back to Living in the Past. And this is a song that I heard on, I don't know if you have Sirius XM radio.
Yeah, I do. Yep.
Okay, so Deep Tracks played this song one day. I'm like, blew my mind. Dr. Bogenbroom,
Yeah.
songs I love. Yeah,
Yeah. I don't think I ever did that one.
yeah,
Other than in the studio. That would have
right.
been great to hear.
Yeah, yep. So okay, so number 10, and I talked about how much I love Passion Play, and
Hmm.
this is the part that I love the best. So basically, right after that monstrosity, the hare who lost his spectacles,
Yep.
that's over. He goes right into it with the the acoustic. We sleep by the ever bright hole in the dark. I believe that
Mhm. Yep.
goes into Foot of Our Stairs, Overseer Overture, which I love, and
Hmm.
Flight from Lucifer. And then to end the first set, Aqualung.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. So you're kind of doing the same thing where you're taking Aqualung out of that predictable spot in the
right.
and I think they should have done that more often because it became so predictable that those two were basically locked together almost.
Did do that a couple, and you mentioned that he played it second. So when I saw him in 2008 at the Jones Beach Amphitheater, he played Aqualung second to get it out of the way, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So
And somewhat ill-advised in my opinion, but the Stormwatch tour decided to do all the Stormwatch material as a set piece.
yeah, so basically
And then
they played 6 songs off of Stormwatch to start the show, and that was basically half the show. And
right.
and then I
So
think the crowd was getting bored, so then they threw Aqualung right in the middle, right after it.
right, exactly. That was the one that basically kick-started the show.
Right.
I mean, I knew all the material, but the 10,000 or 15,000 that was there, there's some people that, they might have listened to the album for the first time on the way down to the
I
concert.
know,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
so he took a lot of risks doing that, and
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Well, that's why I basically redid that set the first time with Pete because
Right.
it left me wanting more. So
Yep.
anyway, so
Absolutely.
we go to intermission and
Hmm.
uh question, does anybody know what this intermission screen is from?
Oh, oh,
3, 2, 1. It is from Monty Python and the Holy Grail when they are walking over the bridge of death. Yeah.
nice.
Do 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 do.
Well, a lot of the stage annex were based on Monty Python.
I didn't know
So,
if I was going to do this or I was going to do something about prostate exams, which he did during the Thick as a Brick show
right, right.
that I saw. Yeah, that was hysterical. But
Oh, one
we'll
quick
talk
note.
about it because getting a prostate exam is not a pleasant thing.
No, no, we can end that banter very quickly.
Yes, we can. So,
um, I looked up the website. It's called Ministry of Information. That's what it's called, and it comes out of the UK. That's the one that has just years and years of set list specific
okay. All right.
with many details that people may not know about the band. So
Right. Okay, so first set was about an hour.
mhm.
Second set is going to be about 68 minutes. So let's go right into it.
Let's do it.
Baker Street Muse.
Oh my God, you went there! Wow.
Oh, heck yeah. I had to. I mean, had to play the whole 16-minute Baker Street Muse. So that's everybody went nuts when they started it and realized that they were going to play the whole thing through. So from there,
Well, it would have been much heavier live, that's for sure.
right. So from there, we do a little mini set of Aqualung favorites, similar to what I saw them play in 1987 or 88, where they played Cheap Day Return,
Mm-hmm.
went into
Wow.
Mother Goose,
Mm-hmm.
and then right into My God, where of course he did the flute solo and all the stuff that goes with that.
Yep.
So now we're going to go do some more rarities and um, War Child. When I first became a Jethro Tull fan, I wasn't a huge fan of that album, but it's
Mm-hmm.
really grown on me over the years. And when they re-released it with a whole bunch of extras, that's
Mm-hmm.
when I really fell in love with it. So what I had to do is I had to take a couple of rarities off of
Mm-hmm.
War Child.
Okay.
So we have Rainbow Blues, which
Not, I almost put that in the set, and I was like, "Nah, enough is enough."
yep, had to have Rainbow Blues. And
Mm-hmm.
then right after it, Glory Row.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yep.
They actually did do Rainbow Blues in '76 in Europe.
Oh,
That was the Too Old to Rock and Roll set between America and Europe, totally different.
oh
To-
man, that would have been great. Would have been amazing.
yep.
Okay, so a little more conventional after that. So one more acoustic number, one white duck, nothing at all.
Nice. Yeah.
Uh,
So this was a true Minstrel in the Gallery tour.
yep.
You know,
But
this wasn't, basically what Toll did was just a little extension of the War Child tour. We'll do Minstrel. But I
right,
mean, you know, most of the album they just, it ignored, which was really shocking if you think about
yeah. But had to get at least a few. And
it.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to get Black Satin Dancer, but I couldn't. I just
Mm-hmm.
couldn't fit it. Too much other good stuff. So
Right.
this is the end of Minstrel in the Gallery, but instead we do Backdoor Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, great song.
Oh,
Uh,
it's great.
another surprise that they brought back, 4,000 Mothers.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
For
very
that time period, yeah, that would be amazing.
very heavy bluesy.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do is we end the show with about 15 minutes of Thick as a Brick.
No.
So really don't mind. Poet and the Painter. What do you do when the old man's gone? And
Mm-hmm.
then, similar to what he did in the concert, they go to what they call the Childhood Heroes reprise.
Mm-hmm.
And then they about 2 minutes of that, and they wrap up the show, and that's the end. And say their good nights.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do for this show, I would say we do a pretty short encore. We don't go crazy with the encore, of course. He is spent at this point for all the greatness that he played.
Yeah, I would be.
Yeah.
I would be spent.
So two songs, To Cry You a Song, which again, which
Wow.
you love.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
then you started the show with Nothing Is Easy. I end it with Nothing Is Easy.
nice.
Yeah. So
So you basically locomotive breath, you were just like, but we can take a
yeah.
break.
You
We
know
can take
what?
a break.
I don't think you can have Locomotive Breath and Aqualung in the same show. So actually, this is the second time I didn't include it because yeah, for me it's pointless to have them both. And you know what? Um, for the person who says that Aqualung's their favorite album, it's a little cliche, but there are many great songs in addition to Locomotive Breath and Aqualung, which is why I included the others. My God, Mother Goose,
Mm-hmm.
which I saw them do in that order back in '88. Where is that? Oh yeah, that's yep, yes. So yes, this was the same running order. I think it was the Rock Island tour that I saw them do that. So, all right. So I will stop sharing.
I like it.
Well, thank you.
I like it a lot.
Oh, it's so much fun. When the first time Pete asked me to do this, I was like bursting. I was
Mhm.
literally bursting. I was so happy that,
No, no pun intended.
yeah, well, because it's such a fun project. I mean,
It is.
one of my favorite groups. I know they're one of your favorite groups, and you know, what better thing to do than to create, be creative and create your own set list. And a couple times later on, he would ask everybody, what's the favorite show that you did on Sea of Tranquility? And I would
Mhm.
always point to that one.
Yeah.
Was I love to be creative, and I get to be creative for 8 weeks, not just three.
Hmm.
So the first two that you saw me do were metal bands, but there are going to be other. There are it's gonna there are going to be other famous bands from the '70s that that are still with us today, and
I'll
they're-
look forward to them.
yeah, yes, they I don't want to give too much away, but going to be some good ones. So before we say goodnight, Steve, tell me
Mhm.
what you got going on.
Well, I think the last time I was on, which was quite a bit ago, um, you had asked me what was next, and I was like, well, not sure. I think I might have mentioned that maybe I'll do something with Genesis or something like that. Well, uh, that probably won't happen. But I found something much better. I continue with my love for Jethro Tull, and for a while there were these remixes that I had done, and I would post on various Facebook Tull groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd hear back from people that that really like that one. I really love that one, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing with Facebook posts, they disappear as
Yeah,
another post comes in.
yes,
You get closer and closer
they
to the
get worse.
bottom
Yes.
each day, each week. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, there's got to be a better way here. So I came up, there's plenty of jest audio on YouTube. And I was like, well, that might be a better outlet for my remixes. So if you look at a couple of my early remixes, I mean, they're basically pretty basic. Um, Album cover, back cover. I'll give you an example. It was like New Day Yesterday was one. I think it's a really decent remix, but it's visually it's pretty basic.
Mm-hmm.
With You There to Help Me is very basic as well. And I was like, I'm better than this. I can start to, slowly, that the remixes are always going to be the priority, but I can do better with the visual part of it. So I've just been on a progression for the last couple of years, really. Um, the best thing I've ever done, I swear it's the best thing I've ever done, is coming out in July, and it's the complete side 2 of Passion Play.
Awesome.
That one, because it's different. I've pretty much schooled myself to be a decent editor
See,
of.
now I love side two of Passion Play, so I
Mhm.
love it.
Well, yeah, I was in the set list.
Yes, yes,
Uh, but I've done my best to learn to be a decent editor. But you're doing that with visuals that are already moving. But when you have stuff where you really don't have the video, you have to either go out, do some research, find something that might already be out there, use that, or create it from scratch. So when you're dealing with pictures or stills, you know, I over the years, over the months, really, I've found ways to make it a little more exciting. Because I even go back to some of mine that I might have done a year ago, and I was like, I could have done better than that one. than this one. But I was on a certain track at the time. I was coming up from just doing album covers and getting the remix out there. But now it's the remix and the visuals are better. So I continue to work on the craft. For people that appreciate it. I was able to just go over 2,500 subscribers on YouTube. So there are some people out there that certainly appreciate it. So I'm going to continue to do it. I have a lot of decent stuff coming out this year, and I probably have enough to take me through 2025.
Awesome.
After that, I'm not sure, because it all depends on when the creativity, when those juices hit. Sometimes I can just in 3 weeks time I can do 5 videos.
Awesome.
And it might be weeks before those juices return.
Right.
So it's kind of hit or miss. I try to work ahead. I have videos scheduled on YouTube all the way to December.
Nice.
So they're all ready to come out. They're all scheduled.
And what's the name of this channel? It's just Steve Buckley.
Well, I kind of made a tie-in with the movie. So it's Steve Buckley of the Tull Phenomenon.
Okay.
There's a separate channel that has, I really don't do much with it anymore. It has like 400 subscribers. And it's some of the separate tracks from the movie. But I just wanted to make sure that people understood that the person that did the movie is the same one doing the videos. That's all.
Yes. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I got some good ideas for 25. I think you're going to see a return of the chateau material. I think I'm going to hit on the animal theme this time, as I did the God Theater concept this time. And by the way, thank you for the mention. When you did your review of
right
Chateau disaster stuff.
Right. Yep.
But yeah, that's it really. I mean, I just probably looking on a bi-monthly basis where Passion Play is the only thing that's going to come out in July, because basically that's 4 songs.
Okay.
But most of the time I'm gonna do 2 a month.
Okay.
On average, and that's enough. I was just usually I go chronologically from This Was through to now that there's a box set out for Broadsword. So I may skip an album. I don't hit every album, but that's usually what I do. And then I start with the old and work my way through up to 1982 again. That's the pattern or flow that I usually work by. So the very last one, there's a friend of mine that sent me some, I guess you would say, some stuff that he ran through AI, where it created some sound separation.
Interesting.
And it's a tune from Under Wraps.
Okay.
And there's always been the discussion of, I don't think it's official that they're even going to come out with Under Wraps. I don't think you're a big fan of Under Wraps, actually. The tour,
I don't think too many people are.
The tour was very good.
Oh, okay.
But the album, it was choir taste, especially with the electronic drums.
Well,
so
here's a funny story. So back in the mid '80s, so we had this rock station in the tri-state area called WNEW.
Okay.
And basically my brother, in his infinite wisdom, he wasn't even a big Jethro Tull fan. He called in and he got tickets to the show at Madison Square Garden. And you know what? And this is before he mentioned it to me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't go. I have to work. So he ended up eating those tickets, and then they ended up sending him the Under Wraps album, which I think we may have played once or twice, and that was it. But
it has potential. It has Obviously, I mean, Ian tends to get infatuated with certain trends. Like if you notice that, the way he got very infatuated with the saxophone and then dropped it, just
Right.
like,
Yes.
well, I'm done. Personally, I think it's a disgusting instrument to play.
Right.
I'm like, well, I mean, okay, that's more detail than I asked for, but because I mean,
But I know they had a little bit of a lull in their, in their history in the mid '80s, but then they had a resurgence when they
right.
what's the album with Steel Monkey?
Crest of
Crest of a Knave. Yeah. Crest of a Knave came out and it kind of was a resurgence for Tull, and thank
but
God. Yeah.
I would say in the early '70s, just the way he got very infatuated with the with the saxophone, and then
Right.
Minster in the gallery. Oh, I'm done.
Yep.
Going
Yes.
back to basics, no sax.
Right.
He got very infatuated with the new electronics that was
Yes.
available at the time. So
Mhm.
with his solo album, his actual first solo album, which was supposed to be A but wasn't,
Right.
Walk Into Light,
Mhm.
he was really into the that new age type of music,
Right.
and all the new synthesizers and everything else that was coming out, the drum machines, all that. And then
Mhm.
he carried that through to Under Wraps. I think maybe a little too much.
Right.
So what I'm looking at doing, there'll be a track that'll come out in December that kind of I ended up doing a sample from one of the other Tull albums where it's the real snare. So what you will hear is the real snare and not the electronic snare.
Oh,
And
okay.
and I used some of the other pieces that this friend of mine sent me to kind of I would say, my typical mix that I usually do. I usually like to add a lot of dynamics, and the solo instruments, I like them to be really heard,
Okay.
above and beyond, what the original mix was. I believe that, they're called solos for a reason. So they should be extremely audible, especially one Martin Barr.
Yes.
So that'll be an interesting track because that'll be the first thing that I probably put out that doesn't have a DVD box release associated with it.
Okay.
So we'll see. I'm gonna keep on plugging away, and some of the stuff that comes out might surprise you.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely.
And thanks again for having me on.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Who knows this? So now my place upstate is livable, and I have my own internet, my own 50-inch TV screen in the living room. So
Beautiful.
maybe I'll put you up on the 50-inch screen one
Yeah,
night.
I mean, anybody that's searching, all you really have to do is SB SB mix, because everything that I usually put in parentheses and all my remixes usually say SB mix. If you SB mix and Tull, and you'll get my channel. It's
Okay.
not hard to get
No.
there. But one other thing, what you were saying about War Child, how you really didn't like it and now you do.
Yes.
I think I felt the same way, especially when it was bookend with Passion Play and Minstrel.
Right.
But those extra tracks, just the way those Chateau tracks add some extra depth to the Passion Play recording.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All those extra tracks, some of them should have made the album.
Without a doubt. Paradise Steakhouse, Sea Lion 2.
Yep. And there is an enthusiasm, there is a special quality to their music in that little window.
Right.
There's you can tell that they're a real band. I mean, yeah. Beyond Ian telling them what to do. I mean, they're all their own creative musicians, and there was just a special flavor with that stuff that I don't think was ever recaptured.
Right. No.
You had the accordion, the saxophone. You had a very heavy Martin guitar on a lot of the tracks. It was a special time. but
Yeah,
you probably had to experience the extra tracks in order to see the whole picture.
yeah, without a
Um,
doubt. I've
but
always said
yeah,
that after this wonderful lineup that you see here,
hmm
after Stormwatch, it's a shame that that lineup got broken up, and I don't think it was ever the same again after
no,
that.
I mean, back in the days, I mean, let's see, the Stormwatch tour when Ian got hurt, he got the
Yeah.
rose thrown into his eye and
I
all
would
that.
know.
And
I had the ticket to the concert that got postponed for a week because of that.
well, you know, things being the way they, I mean, I guess your basic rock station was really the only way that you would find stuff out. There's no internet.
Right.
Uh, News traveled very slow, much slower. I
Hmm.
mean, I thought it was part of the show because he showed up with the sunglasses on.
Yeah.
It wasn't until after that I heard about you know, that he had an injury. Well, actually, he announced it during the show that he had an injury.
Well,
But
I would know because I was all set to go to this concert on a Sunday night, and then a friend of mine, and I thought he was pulling my leg. He's like, "Oh, the
yeah,
concert's been postponed." I'm like, "What do you mean postponed?" I
I,
really thought he was pulling my leg, but then, as it turns out, I
yeah,
heard a story about the thorn in the eye.
I would have thought it was BS.
Yeah.
But then, you know, in the same instance, I go to a record store. A lot of times, you know, especially albums like, you know, when Tull was all the rage, first day release, I'm in the record store.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm in a record store and I get the A album and I turn it over and I'm shocked when I'm reading the musicians that
Yeah.
are that are I'm like, you gotta be kidding. Where's Barrymore Barlow?
Yeah.
Where's John Evan?
Was
I mean,
David Palmer.
I was just I was shocked. But it was, you know, in England, it was all over the papers, but
Yeah.
didn't make it to me. But the thing is now, everything gets to us now. All it takes
Yeah.
is one post from somebody across the pond on Facebook or whatever, and everybody knows now.
Everybody knows everything.
But it didn't used to be that way.
No, no, I think the medium back then was rock magazines to
Yep,
anything. And
that too.
even those, you didn't know, even those magazines, sometimes you didn't know if they were telling you the truth or not.
Hmm.
Because it was so far-fetched, some of those stories. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one disc jockey saying, "Oh, JT has another album coming out." And I'm just like,
Mhm.
"Yeah," and I hope he doesn't mean James Taylor. And he just goes, "Yeah, look for it this fall. It's called Stormwatch." And I'm like, that's how you found out.
Right. Yeah.
You know, if you're some of the rock, they would run advertisements, sometimes full page advertisements, and some of, you know, the Cream magazine and what
Mhm.
have you. But you know, you were the last to know.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah, but
But these bands, they would put out one album a year, so you'd come to expect it.
you would absolutely expect it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, oh, another fall, another Tull tour.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I just, you know, hopefully through the videos, I can keep some of it still alive. Um, you know, I feel that, you know, as far as overall, I guess, legacy, Tull got shortchanged a bit. Um, you know, I don't think the things were ever the same for them. You know, after the all the critics and Passion Play, I don't think anything, because they were,
Really, you think?
yeah. Well, there's always a resurgence,
Right.
but Passion Play, they were so, oh my god. So if you go back and read some of the reviews and like sounds and, you know,
Yeah.
all that stuff's online. A lot of those English mags, all that stuff's online.
Right.
Oh, they were just brutal
Yeah.
and very short sighted. They
Yeah.
were saying, you know, this is too complex. Well, I'm a drummer. I like too complex. I like odd time signatures. I like all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Well,
no,
at the end of the
I don't
day,
think
I
we're.
mean, Paul Stanley, Kiss said it best. At the end of the day, it's what the fans think. And
Mhm.
And when I was at a show where he pointed to the fans and he's like, "You showed them that they were wrong," and that's the
Mhm.
case with Jethro Tull.
Yeah, I don't think Ian's funny. He has a certain stage presence, but he's not really the one to say, clap to this song. Or he's not
Yeah,
it. He doesn't really like as far as the audience participation. He's
yeah,
not a
no,
big guy for he's not a cheerleader.
no, he'd rather us just sit there and listen and enjoy.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. But yeah, what can I say? Those were the days. I think Toll did have a huge resurgence with Songs from the Wood, and
absolutely.
that led into bursting out and the end
Yep,
of the set.
yep.
But I just there was a while there where they had that. Ian even quoted in the middle '70s something about Pink Floyd. We can't really do that airy fairy thing. They're
Mhm.
the best in the world.
Right.
Um, and as far as pure hard rock, Led Zeppelin are the best in the world. Rhythm and blues, the Rolling Stone um, are the best in the world. And he goes, I'll be happy to just take what's left over
Yeah.
and be the best at that.
Yes.
So, but
Well,
I mean, they were once in that upper echelon, and they when the '80s came through and all that, they the one big resurgence was really Crest of an Eighth.
yes.
And then after that, it
And then
was
there was the Grammy, of course, where they beat out Metallica.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was all strange, and it's
Yeah.
I mean,
Got the name out there. That's all I care about.
yeah, but uh, and much smaller venues after that. Um, I mean,
Well, 2008, they were still playing. They still played the Jones Beach Amphitheater, and I'd say at least it was a three-quarter sellout.
okay,
Yeah. This is 2008.
all
After
right.
that, he started to have to play the smaller venues. But
But I mean, for some reason, I mean, there's certain, obviously you're not going to see Pink Floyd again or
right,
Zeppelin, but Rolling Stones. How much money are they going to make being 80
I don't
plus
know.
years old?
I love how they just so I still go to the magazine section at Barnes and Noble on occasion, and
Mm-hmm.
one of these magazines, and it had the top 100 albums of 2023, and of course they had to have the Rolling Stones as the number one, just because it was the Rolling Stones. I mean,
Right. Yep.
I thought that was crap. I mean, I thought that there was better out there. Just because they're the Rolling Stones, they're automatically number one. Whereas I thought it was a decent album. I thought it was actually pretty good, but number one, I'm not so sure.
Yeah. I mean, they had their time. I mean, like every band, they had their cute window of just amazing creativity.
Right.
But like all these bands, the creativity thins out,
Yeah.
and it's more about how the album, like Tattoo You would be like an example, how it's promoted versus what the contents are inside.
Right.
All you need is the one hit single, and the thing goes gold and platinum.
Right.
um but yeah, Jethro Tull is always going to be my number one. It's
Yes.
just
Well, no, that's awesome.
it's just something that
Yeah.
you just Genesis would be two with me, Zepp
Mm.
three, Floyd, and then I think Rush.
Okay.
Um,
We might
you
be
know,
hearing from about them in the coming weeks, so stay
yeah.
tuned, folks.
I mean, after that, I like to just not. There's probably another 15 after that, and I would just not like to rank them, but they're definitely were absolutely influential.
Hmm.
Um, I've always liked metal. I don't think as much as you like metal, but
Right.
I recognize as far as the contrast of music, You have the quietest moments, and then you have bands like Dream Theater that just,
Mhm.
I'm big fan of Brilliant, big fan of Dream Theater.
Nice.
And but I think the heaviest metal all the time for me, I enjoy the contrast a lot more. Saw Sabbath in '78.
Okay.
Van Halen opened up for them.
Oh, so you saw that show, huh?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Poor
It was what
Sabbath got blown off the stage by Van Halen, I heard.
it was strange because Van Halen were just on this huge trajectory upwards.
Yes.
And they came out with all this explosive energy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then you basically got Sabbath and their style, their those low chords of theirs.
Yes.
It was it almost would have been better if it was reversed.
Yeah.
It was the Sabbath 10-year anniversary tour. And I don't think Ozzy was there for that much longer. I think
No.
Dio took over pretty soon after that.
Right.
But I mean, it was great. My first time seeing both bands. But truth be told, that night, Van Halen blew them away.
I've heard, yeah.
But again, sometimes we make mistakes as far as what our opening band is.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just too good.
Right.
And sometimes they're horrible. I saw Blondie open up for Rush.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good match.
Right.
Because Rush in their proggiest of proggy times, 1978.
The Hemispheres. Yep.
Yeah, Deborah and the band got booed off stage at the Spectrum.
Interesting. Well, Spectrum, I can see that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's a shame. I mean, they had their niche and they were good, but it just they weren't a match.
Yeah, I mean, Tull's done the same thing too through the years. I mean, they had one of their best opening bands was Saga, which I believe they were from Canada, I think.
Right. Yes.
And they opened for the Broadsword tour, and that had a nice flow to it from opener to headliner. But some of the stuff, it's just like I remember some opening bands where I'm like, can they just leave?
Yeah.
Like they had, I forget what. Well, Whitesnake was very good. Whitesnake, I think, opened for the Under Wraps tour.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yes.
So when the Stormwatch tour UK opened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they obviously developed that relationship, and all of a sudden, Eddie Jobson is a guest.
Right. Yep.
Of Tull for year and a half time.
Right.
But I remember some bands I was just like, it bites, and there were what was the one called Honeymoon Suite. I just remember some of those openers through the '80s, and I was just like, whatever.
Yeah. Hit or miss. You're not always going to get a good opening band.
And sometimes you just get to see some classic band that you never, got an opportunity to see. In the '90s, Procol Harum opened up for Tull, and to hear Whiter Shade of Pale,
wow,
that was amazing. ELP as well.
Wow.
ELP.
Actually, 2008, Peter Frampton opened for Tull.
I saw him as well.
Yeah.
That was it. So I mean, there have been some really nice bonuses through the years, and there's been some really nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how many times can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
You all know what I'm here for.
Yep.
So, but it's a tough business to break through.
Yeah.
And I give any of them credit for. Who was the one acoustic guy that was very, very much mellow rock? Livingston Taylor. There's a famous story about him just getting absolutely assaulted at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, wow.
It was Songs from the Wood tour, and it was the one where Ian approaches just him and his countryside outfit and acoustic guitar. And he's like, yeah, I wanted to apologize. Livingston's in the back. He's not taking it very well. He basically said, try to be more respectful or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, my name is Arnold Stirrup, and he went with his opening spiel for Songs from the Wood.
Interesting.
But
yeah.
With that, I should let you go.
Yep.
And appreciate the invite back.
Sure thing. We had a great discussion. Wow, this really morphed into a nice discussion. I'm can't wait to play it back and get it out there for everybody. So
I could talk. If alcohol was involved, I could alcohol and pizza. Hell,
oh,
I could
wow.
talk.
Oh, wow. You would have liked the show I just went to, KK's Priest, where it was alcohol and pizza involved. Yeah.
Oh, I think I did see a post on you. So basically that was different generations of Priest.
Right.
With or without Rob.
Yes. Yeah. It was basically the middle, the singer that they had in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
Rip Owens, but great show. And I will be going to a bunch more shows. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I think this summer Martin Barr will be around.
Oh, that's cool.
Doing some shows.
I might have to check that out. I will have to check that out if I can. Yeah.
I'm not sure you'll see Ian anymore in the States.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think I've had enough. I mean, he doesn't sound great anymore.
Yeah, you can't. There's no way to sugarcoat that. There just isn't.
Yeah.
And we all know it. We've seen it coming for years.
Right.
And 75 years old. I mean, there are a few rare people out there that are of similar age that can still. I think John Anderson still sounds fairly decent. Right. Trying to think who else, but some of it's genetics, some of it is just wear and tear. Smoking doesn't help, and we all know that Ian smoked for many years.
Right.
And he blew out under Rap's tour. He blew out his voice at the end.
Yes.
But there was a friend of mine who was a big Elvis fan, and he would point out stuff to me like, listen to his voice during this year and that. Can you see the changes? And I'm just like, I don't know, dude. Right. Well, I've become that way with Ian. I can sit there and listen to certain live tapes, and you can see how smooth the voice was. Mm-hmm. And I think his best voice was probably Passion Play War Child and Minstrel.
Right.
But you can see how a little bit of that grit and just that gravel, started to take over in his voice. And the harder he strained it, the worse it got until it blew up.
Right.
I would love a situation where I don't know how many people would go for it, but the whole AI thing is going to be really scary. The way that he can sing into a mic and hear themselves 25 years, in the past, hear their old voice out the other end.
It's a slippery slope.
It is. It is. I mean, we all know that there's been a certain fakeness with, certain bands having a click track live so that they can, and we all know that Tull for a long time has used different sound effects. And sometimes the backing vocals you hear are the bass player miming what's really the backing vocals from the album.
Yes.
Stuff you can do. But the AI thing it's interesting and scary all at the same time.
Yeah, but
Um,
definitely a topic for another day.
absolutely.
But,
Well, sir, I bid you good night.
well,
Thanks for
thank you for being on, Steve, and to my audience at large, thank you for being here and spending this hour and change with us. And if you like what I do, please subscribe. Please subscribe to Steve's channel, as he mentioned. And we'll see you soon at the next Dream Set List. Jack.
subscribe to Jack.
Yep, All or Not According to Jack with Jack Toledano. Special guest Steve Buckley. Have a good night, all.
Good night.